Today, we're diving into a really classic story, one you might have even heard before. It's called The Blind Men and the Elephant. And trust me, it's a simple tale with a huge lesson about how we see the world. So, let's start with a big question, right? Have you ever wondered, can two people look at the very same thing, experience the exact same event, and yet walk away with completely different ideas of what happened? Well, this ancient story, it has a really powerful answer for us. All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in a small, quiet village. And like a lot of great stories, it starts with a group of people who are just trying to figure something out. Now, living in this village was a group of blind men. And these guys were super curious about, well, everything. They had heard all these wild stories about this majestic creature called an elephant. But hearing about it just wasn't enough. They really wanted to understand it for themselves, to experience it, not just hear the words. And then, one day, their big chance arrives. The very thing they'd been so curious about was about to make an appearance, right there in the middle of their village. So, a kind villager who knew just how much they wanted to know brought an elephant right into the town square. You can imagine the excitement, right? This was it. This was the moment they had been waiting for. They all gathered around, ready to finally figure out this creature using their sense of touch. Okay, so the first man steps up. He reaches out and his hand grabs onto the elephant's long, wiggly trunk. And right away, he jumps to a conclusion. He's totally confident, shouting, "Ah, I've got it! An elephant is just like a long, slender snake." And for him, in that moment, that was the absolute truth. But then the second man, who's feeling something totally different, the elephant's thick, sturdy leg, he's like, "Wait, what? No. An elephant is like a sturdy tree trunk." So right away, his experience is completely the opposite of the first guy's. And then comes the third man. He gets a hold of the elephant's big, wide ear as it flaps back and forth, and he just starts laughing. He says, "You're both way off. An elephant is like a giant fan." So here we go, another person, another totally different reality. Next up, the fourth man. He puts his hands flat against the elephant's huge broadside, and all he feels is this massive, solid surface. So he declares, "You're all mistaken. An elephant is like a great wall." I mean, you have to wonder, right? How can they all be touching the same animal and be this far apart? And then the fifth man. He feels the smooth, sharp point of the tusk, and he's just as certain as everyone else. "None of you get it," he argues. "An elephant is sharp and pointed, just like a spear." So there you have it. 5 different men, 5 different truths. And every single one of them is absolutely convinced he's right. So what happens when you have 5 people and every single one of them is 100% sure they're right, but they all disagree? Well, as you can probably guess, things got heated. Fast. They just started arguing, right? Each one insisting that his experience was the only truth about the elephant. Their voices get louder, the argument gets more intense, and it's all because not one of them could even imagine how the others could possibly be right. I mean, just think about this for a second. To one man, the elephant literally was a sneak. To another, it was a tree. And to the others, a fan, a wall, and a spear. It's one single animal, but somehow it created 5 completely different, separate realities in their minds. And right when the argument is about to boil over, someone new shows up. Someone who can see things a little differently. A wise old woman happens to be walking by, and she hears all this commotion. She comes over and just calmly asks, "Hey,
What's all the fuss about? And of course, each man rushes to tell her his side of the story, probably hoping she'll finally prove that he was the right one. She listens to every single one of them really patiently, and then she smiles because she has the answer. She tells them, to really truly understand the elephant, you have to put all of your experiences together. See, she explained that none of them were actually wrong. It's just that each of them only had a piece of the truth. And just like that, with those simple words, you could feel the whole mood shift. All that anger and confusion started to just melt away, and something new started to take its place. Understanding. The men went quiet. They actually thought about what she'd said. And then they started talking to each other again. But this time, they weren't arguing. They were sharing. And as they did, it all clicked. The snake was the trunk. The tree was a leg. The fan was an ear. And suddenly, for the first time, they could all picture the whole elephant together. And that right there is really what this whole story is about. It's about empathy. It's that ability to take a step back from what we know, from our own experience, and really try to understand where someone else is coming from. That's the skill that lets us combine all those little pieces of the truth into a much, much bigger picture. So, what's the big lesson here? Well, for one, our own perspective, as true as it feels, can be really misleading. It can trick us into thinking we see everything. Real understanding, that only comes when we're willing to actually listen and combine different viewpoints. Because, communication isn't about winning an argument or proving you're right. It's about building a shared truth together. Everyone's experience is just one piece of the puzzle. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. What's the elephant in your life right now? What's that big, complex problem or disagreement that maybe you're only seeing one small part of? And maybe more importantly, how might your entire understanding of it change if you just tried to see it from every single angle? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.